Hey, Mr. Keaton, I just want you to know about a study really hard for the test. No matter what happens tomorrow, I want to show you how hard I study. Please watch my video.
Okay, Ty, I've got 151 questions here that came directly from the study guide and the PowerPoint that you printed off of your school's website. I'm going to go through each section. Some will be multiple choice, some of them you'll give fill in the blank. But in this first section, I'm going to ask you to identify the author of stories that you've had to read. And I'm going to give you 4 possibilities. You select the correct one. You ready?
I'm ready.
Who is the author of Gilgamesh? Chaucer, Boccaccio, Hamlet, Sinliki Unini.
Say anything.
Who is the author of the Iliad? Chaucer, Virgil, Homer, or Shakespeare?
Homer.
Who is the author of the Decameron? Anonymous, Boccaccio, Chaucer, or Hamlet?
Boccaccio.
Who is the author of the Aeneid? Anonymous, Virgil, Shakespeare, or Chaucer?
Virgil.
Who is the author of Canterbury Tales / Wife of Bath Prologue? Chaucer, Ibsen, Conrad, Shakespeare.
Chaucer.
Who is the author of Candida? Conrad, Voltaire, Dostoevsky, Cervantes.
Voltaire.
Who is the author of Hedda Gabler? Ibsen, Cervantes, Dostoevsky, or Shakespeare?
Ibsen.
Who is the author of Heart of Darkness? Ibsen, Conrad, or Dostoevsky?
Conrad.
Who is the author of Notes from Underground? Cervantes, Dostoevsky, Ibsen, or Conrad?
Dostoevsky.
Who is the author of Beowulf? Virgil, Anonymous, Homer, Boccaccio?
Anonymous.
Who is the author of the Inferno / Divine Comedy? Dostoevsky, Virgil, Alighieri, Boccaccio?
Alighieri.
Who is the author of Don Quixote? De Cervantes, Dostoevsky, Alighieri, Voltaire?
De Cervantes.
Who is the author of Hamlet? Voltaire, Alighieri, De Cervantes, Shakespeare?
Shakespeare.
Okay, this next section, I'm going to give you a name of a story, and I will give you 4 options for you to identify the correct era that it was written in. Gilgamesh, Middle Ages, Early Renaissance, Mesopotamia, Realism.
Mesopotamia.
Beowulf, Modernism, Middle Ages, Late Renaissance, Early Middle Ages.
Early Middle Ages.
The Decameron, Late Middle Ages, Early Renaissance, Realism, Early Middle Ages, Mesopotamia.
Late Middle Ages / Early Renaissance.
Hamlet, Early Middle Ages, Late Renaissance, Late Middle Ages / Early Renaissance, or Greek.
Late Renaissance.
Don Quixote, Spanish, Roman, Late Renaissance, Early Middle Ages.
Late Renaissance.
The Iliad, Greek, Roman, Middle Ages, Realism.
Greek.
Candida, Modernism, the Enlightenment, Late Renaissance, Greek.
Enlightenment.
Heart of Darkness, Enlightenment, Roman, Early Middle Ages, Modernism.
Modernism.
Notes from Underground, Modernism, Realism, the Enlightenment, Late Renaissance.
Realism.
The Aeneid, Greek, Roman, Early Middle Ages, Modernism.
Woman.
Hedda Gabler, Modernism, Roman, Realism, Mesopotamia.
Realism.
The Divine Comedy / Inferno, Late Middle Ages / Early Renaissance, Enlightenment, Roman.
Late Middle Ages.
Now we're going to move on to a section where you need to name the story that these characters were in. I'm going to give you a name of a character and please identify the story that they're in. Enkidu,
Gilgamesh.
Achilles,
Iliad.
Aeneas,
The Aeneid.
Grendel,
Beowulf.
Virgil,
Divine Comedy / Inferno.
Allison,
Canterbury Tales.
Dulcinea del Toboso,
Don Quixote.
Ophelia,
Hamlet.
Pangloss,
Candida.
Eilert Lovborg,
Hedda Gabler.
Marlowe,
Heart of Darkness.
Umbaba,
Gilgamesh.
Hector,
Iliad.
Dido,
Aeneid.
Hrothgar,
Beowulf.
Chipoletto,
Victor Cameron.
Utnapishtim,
Gilgamesh.
Agamemnon,
Iliad.
Paris,
Iliad.
Jove / Jupiter,
Aeneid.
Wiglaf,
Beowulf.
Paris,
Iliad.
Polonius,
Hamlet.
Cunegonde,
Candida.
Tesman,
Hedda Gabler.
Claudius,
Candida.
it's Hamlet. It's okay. Helen,
Iliad.
Athena,
Iliad.
Gertrude,
Hamlet.
the old woman,
Candida.
Ms. Elstead,
Hedda Gabler.
Jacques the Anabaptist,
Candida.
Kurtz,
Heart of Darkness.
Priam,
Iliad.
Zeus.
Iliad.
The next section is going to be, you need to identify the country / nationality of the author. I will give you the author's name. You identify the country / nationality. Sinaliki Unini,
Sumerian. Akkadian. Babylonians.
Homer,
Greek.
Virgil,
Woman.
Beowulf,
Anglo-Saxon.
Dante Alighieri,
Italian.
Giovanni Boccaccio,
Italian.
Geoffrey Chaucer,
English.
William Shakespeare,
English.
Miguel de Cervantes,
Spanish.
Francois Marie Arouet, also known as Voltaire,
French.
Fyodor Dostoevsky,
Russian.
Henrik Ibsen,
Norwegian.
Joseph Theodor Konrad Korzeniowski, also known as Joseph Conrad.
Polish.
In this next section, you have a list of literary terms. I'm going to read to you the definition, and I want you to supply me with the literary term that belongs with that definition. A story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to have a hidden meaning.
Allegory.
Belonging to a period other than being portrayed.
Antagonism.
The adversary of the hero or protagonist.
Antagonist.
A literary device used to highlight details about a character in a story.
Characterization.
A type of prose common to aristocratic circles in medieval and early modern Europe.
Symbolic moments.
The most intense, exciting, or important point of something.
Climax.
A serious disagreement or argument, typically protracted.
Conflict.
A composition in verse or prose intended to portray life or tell stories involving conflicts and emotions in theatrical performance.
Drama.
Pertaining to or derived from experience.
Exponential.
Long narrative poem that is usually about heroic deeds and events.
Epic poem.
Philosophical theory or approach that emphasizes the existence of the individual person as an individual who determines his own fate.
Existentialism.
Did you say existentialism?
Yes, I did.
Okay. A comprehensive explanation of an idea or theory.
Exposition.
A secondary story or a story within a story.
Frame story.
Visually descriptive or figurative language in a literary work.
Imagery.
That's correct, imagery. Into the middle of a narrative without preamble.
In medieval ways.
A figure of speech that is used in a different way than the actual meaning of the words.
Irony.
Novel by Jackson Miller set in the Old Republic era.
Not Ellen novel.
A philosophical movement with cultural trends and changes in Western society in the 19th and early 20th century.
Modernism.
Philosophical movement after modernism in the late 20th century.
Postmodernism.
Fictitious prose narrative of book length representing a character with some degree of realism.
Novel.
Early form of writing with a rogue or villain with a picaro as its main character.
Pick away novel.
Say that one again.
Pick away.
It's pronounced picaresque.
Pick away.
Picaresque. A narration that an author employs to let the readers hear and see what takes place.
Point of view.
A form of language that has no formal metrical structure, natural flow of speech, and ordinary grammar.
Prose.
The leading character or hero of a story.
Protagonist.
An attempt to make art and literature resemble real life.
Realism.
A technique used to expose and criticize foolishness and corruption of an individual or society.
Satire.
The time and geographic location where a story takes place.
Setting.
A story with a fully developed theme, but shorter than a novel.
Short story.
The realistic depiction in art of contemporary life as a means of social or political comment.
Social realism.
Literary device often used in drama to reveal the innermost thoughts of a character.
Soliloquy.
It's pronounced soliloquy. Literary device that contains several layers of meaning, often concealed.
Symbols.
The main idea or underlying theme of a literary work.
Theme.
Attitude of a writer toward a subject or audience.
Tone.
A character whose telling of a story is unreliable due to their mental state.
Unreliable narrator.
The next thing we're going to go to is you were asked to know the opening passages of each of those individual stories. I'm going to read you an opening passage and I want you to identify the story it belongs to. He had seen everything and experienced all emotions.
Gilgamesh.
Rage, seen goddess Achilles' rage.
Iliad.
Wars and a man I seen, an exile driven on by fate.
Aeneid.
Surviving in a single tattered manuscript, its edges burned by fire.
Beowulf.
Chapelette imposes upon a holy friar by a sham confession and dies.
Decameron.
Midway along the journey of our life, I woke to find myself in a dark wood.
Inferno / Conan.
When April comes, and with its showers sweet, has to the root-pierced marches drought complete.
Cameo Terrace.
Idling reader, you may believe me when I tell you that I should have liked your book, which is the child of my brain.
Candido.
Don Quixote. Who's there? Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself.
Hamlet.
There lived in Westphalia, in the castle of the Baron of Thunder, a young man.
Candido.
Well, I believe they're just now getting up.
Hedegabra.
The Nelly, a cruising yawl, swung to her anchor without a flutter of the sails.
Heart Darkness.
Did you say Heart of Darkness?
Yes, I did.
I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man.
Notes from Underground.
The last thing were some questions that were formed from the PowerPoint information. I'm going to ask you a question, just fill in the blank. Give me an answer. Sinliki Unini was a blank who lived in Mesopotamia.
Aces of Priest.
Sinliki Unini's name means what?
Moon God, accept my prayer.
This version of Gilgamesh was written in a dialect called what?
Akkadian.
Gilgamesh was the king of what?
King of York.
What was the largest city in the world at the time of Gilgamesh?
York.
The Iliad and the Odyssey are examples of what?
Epic poem.
Homer lived in what centuries?
7th, 8th BCE.
Homer's works are said to have been produced in what tradition?
Or.
Virgil died before the Aeneid was completed, as it was being completed, or after it was completed?
Before.
What was the first significant piece of literature in a European vernacular?
Beowulf.
The culture of what tribes are described in Beowulf?
Germanic.
Dante was born in what city?
Florence, Italy.
What author was permanently banned from his city because of his involvement in politics?
Dante.
This author's father was the head of a bank.
Giovanni Boccaccio.
Geoffrey Chaucer was born in what town?
London.
Geoffrey Chaucer wrote in what vernacular?
Middle English.
How many other books besides Canterbury Tales did Chaucer write?
7.
Who is the author of the late Renaissance?
William Shakespeare.
How many plays and sonnets did Shakespeare write?
38 plays and 158 sonnets.
Don Quixote was originally published in 2 parts. How many years after the first part was published before the second part was published?
10 years.
How many years was Miguel de Cervantes held captive by Algerian pirates?
5 years.
Francois Marie Arouet was also known as who?
Voltaire.
What did Voltaire attack most in his writings?
The Catholic Church.
How many books did Voltaire write?
2000.
Who is the founder of literary realism?
Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Notes from Underground is considered to be an example of what type of work?
Existential literature.
Existentialist.
Literature.
Who is considered the father of realism?
Henrik Ibsen.
This play from Henrik Ibsen has been the most performed play ever.
A Doll's House.
Joseph Theodore Conrad Korzeniowski was also known as whom?
Joseph Conrad.
Joseph Conrad was one of the first writers to write in what language?
English.
And our last question is, Conrad's writings were behind the rise of what style of writing?
Modernism.
That's correct. I believe of the 151, you missed 2. So that was a really nice job.